morning. Thanks for joining me today. Oh. Nice to wake up and drink coffee. Okay. Let's read the Bible here. Habakkuk, chapter 1, verse 1, through chapter 3, verse 19. The following is the message which God revealed to Habakkuk the prophet. How long, Lord, must I cry for help, but you do not listen? I call out to you violence, but you do not intervene. Why do you force me to witness injustice? Why do you put up with wrongdoing? Destruction and violence confront me. Conflict is present, and one must endure strife. For this reason, the law lacks power, and justice is never carried out. Indeed, the wicked intimidate the innocent. For this reason, justice is perverted. Look at the nations and pay attention. You will be shocked and amazed. For I will do something in your lifetime that you will not believe, even though you are forewarned. Look, I am about to empower the Babylonians, that ruthless and greedy nation. They sweep across the surface of the earth, seizing dwelling places that do not belong to them. They are frightening and terrifying. They decide for themselves what is right. Their horses are faster than leopards and more alert than wolves in the desert. Their horses gallop. Their horses come a great distance. Like a vulture, they swoop down quickly to devour their prey. All of them intend to do violence. Every face is determined. They take prisoners as easily as one scoops up sand. They mock kings and laugh at rulers. They laugh at every fortified city. They build siege ramps and capture them. They sweep by like the wind and pass on. But the one who considers himself a god will be held guilty. Lord, you have been active from ancient times. My sovereign God, you are immortal. Lord, you have made them your instrument of judgment. Protector, you have appointed them as your instrument of punishment. You are too just to tolerate evil. You are unable to condone wrongdoing, so why do you put up with such treacherous people? Why do you say nothing when the wicked devour those more righteous than they are? You made people like fish in the sea, like animals in the sea, that have no ruler. The Babylonian tyrant pulls them all up with a fish hook. He hauls them in with his throw net. When he catches them in his dragnet, he is very happy. Because of his success, he offers sacrifices to his throw net and burns incense to his dragnet. For because of them, he has plenty of food and more than enough to eat. Will he then continue to fill and empty his throw net? Will he always destroy nations and spare none? I will stand at my watchpost. I will remain stationed on the city wall. I will keep watching so I can see what he says to me and can know how I should answer when he counters my argument. The Lord responded, write down this message. Record it legibly on tablets, so the one who announces it may read it easily. For the message is a witness to what is decreed. It gives reliable testimony about how matters will turn out. Even if the message is not fulfilled right away, wait patiently, for it will certainly come to pass. It will not arrive late. Look, the one whose desires are not upright will faint from exhaustion, but the person of integrity will live because of his faithfulness. Indeed, wine will betray the proud, restless man. His appetite is as big as Sheol's. Like death, he is never satisfied. He gathers all the nations. He seizes all peoples. But all these nations will someday taunt him and ridicule him with proverbial sayings. The one who accumulates what does not belong to him is as good as dead. How long will this go on? He who gets rich by extortion. Your creditors will suddenly attack. Those who terrify you will spring into action, and they will rob you. Because you robbed many countries, all who are left among the nations will rob you. You have shed human blood and committed violent acts against lands, cities, and those who live in them. The one who builds his house by unjust gain is as good as dead. He does this so he can build his nest way up high and escape the clutches of disaster. Your schemes will bring shame to your house. Because you destroyed many nations, you will self-destruct. For the stones and the walls will cry out, and the wooden rafters will answer back. The one who builds a city by bloodshed is as good as dead. he who starts a town by unjust deeds. Be sure of this, the Lord who commands armies has decreed, the nation's efforts will go up in smoke. Their exhausting works will be for nothing, for recognition of the Lord's sovereign majesty will fill the earth, just as the waters fill up the sea. You who force your neighbor to drink wine are as good as dead, you who make others intoxicated by forcing them to drink from the bowl of your furious anger, so you can look at their genitals. But you will become drunk with shame, not majesty. Now it is your turn to drink and expose your uncircumcised foreskin. The cup of wine in the Lord's right hand is coming to you, and disgrace will replace your majestic glory. For you will pay in full for your violent acts against Lebanon. Terrifying judgment will come upon you because of the way you destroyed the wild animals living there. You have shed human blood and committed violent acts against lands, cities, and those who live in them. What good is an idol? Why would a craftsman make it? What good is a metal image that gives misleading oracles? Why would its creator place his trust in it and make such mute, worthless things? The one who says to wood, "Wake up," is as good as dead. He who says to speechless stone, "Awake," can it give reliable guidance? It is overlaid with gold and silver. It has no life's breath inside it. But the Lord is in his majestic palace. The whole earth is speechless in his presence. This is a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet. Lord, I have heard the report of what you did. I am awed, Lord, by what you accomplished. In our time, repeat those deeds. In our time, reveal them again. But when you cause turmoil, remember to show us mercy. God comes from Teman, the sovereign one from Mount Paran. Selah. His splendor covers the skies. His glory fills the earth. He is as bright as lightning. A two-pronged lightning bolt flashes from his hand. This is the outward display of his power. Plague goes before him. Pestilence marches right behind him. He takes his battle position and shakes the earth. With a mere look, he frightens the nations. The ancient mountains disintegrate. The primeval hills are flattened. He travels on the ancient roads. I see the tents of Cushan overwhelmed by trouble. The tents curtains of the land of Midian are shaking. Is the Lord mad at the rivers? Are you angry with the rivers? Are you enraged at the sea? Is this why you climb into your horse-drawn chariots, your victorious chariots? Your bow is ready for action. You commission your arrows. Selah. You cause flash floods on the earth's surface. When the mountains see you, they shake. The torrential downpour sweeps through. The great deep shouts out. It lifts its hands high. The sun and moon stand still in their courses. The flash of your arrows drives them away. The bright light of your lightning, quick spear. You furiously stomp on the earth. You angrily trample down the nations. You march out to deliver your people, to deliver your special servant. You strike the leader of the wicked nation, laying him open from the lower body to the neck. Selah. You pierce the heads of his warriors with a spear. They storm forward to scatter us. They shout with joy as if they were plundering the poor with no opposition. But you trample on the sea with your horses, on the surging, raging waters. I listened, and my stomach churned. The sound made my lips quiver. My frame went limp, as if my bones were decaying, and I shook as I tried to walk. I long for the day of distress to come upon the people who attack us. When the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, when the olive trees do not produce, and the field yields no crops, when the sheep disappear from the pen, and there are no cattle in the stalls, I will rejoice because of the Lord. I will be happy because of the God who delivers me. The sovereign Lord is my source of strength. He gives me the agility of a deer. He enables me to negotiate the rugged terrain. This prayer is for the song leader. It is to be accompanied by stringed instruments. I think Habakkuk is one of my favorite minor prophets here. I guess I'd just like to summarize this briefly. So, Habakkuk is witnessing violence, destruction, and injustice in Judah, and he is asking God, why don't you intervene? And like in verse 3, why do you force me to witness injustice? Why do you put up with wrongdoing? And destruction and violence is before him. And he's like, Don't worry, Judah's going to get theirs. I'm bringing the Babylonians to come and and destroy them. And Habakkuk is like, what? Why would you do that? They're even worse than us. And so that's chapter 1. And then in chapter 2, Habakkuk says that I'll eagerly await your response because I know you're going to respond to me in verse 1. And then the Lord responds to him and says, essentially, chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. The one who builds his house by unjust gain is as good as dead. He does this so he can build his nest way up high and escape the clutches of disaster. Your schemes will bring shame to your house. Because you destroyed many nations, you will self-destruct. So the Babylonians are going to get theirs too eventually. And in the end, you have Habakkuk praising God for dispensing justice and kind of reaching like this Job level of whatever happens kind of state, culminating, I think, in chapter 3, verses 17 and 18, when the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, when the olive trees do not produce, and the fields yield no crops, when the sheep disappear from the pen, and there are no cattle in the stalls. I will rejoice because of the Lord. I will be happy because of the God who delivers me. Being patient in the midst of tribulation, I think is good. Okay. Revelation chapter 9. Verses 1 through 21. Then the fifth angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. He opened the shaft of the abyss, and smoke rose out of it, like smoke from a giant furnace. The sun and the air were darkened with smoke from the shaft. Then out of the smoke came locusts onto the earth, and they were given power like that of the scorpions of the earth. They were told not to damage the grass of the earth, or any green plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their forehead. The locusts were not given permission to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months, and the torture was like that of a scorpion when it stings a person. In those days, people will seek death, but will not be able to find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. Now the locusts looked like horses equipped for battle. On their heads were something like crowns, similar to gold, and their faces looked like men's faces. They had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like iron breastplates, and the sound of their wings was like the noise of many horse-drawn chariots charging into battle. They have tails and stingers like scorpions, and their ability to injure people for 5 months is in their tails. They have as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek Apollyon. The first woe has passed, but 2 woes are still coming after these things. Then the sixth angel blew his trumpet, and I heard a single voice coming from the horns on the golden altar that is before God, saying to the sixth angel, the one holding the trumpet, "Set free the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." Then the 4 angels who had been prepared for this hour, day, month, and year, were set free to kill 1/3 of humanity. The number of soldiers on horseback was 200 million. I heard their number. Now this is what the horses and their riders looked like in my vision. The riders had breastplates that were fiery, red, dark blue, and sulphurous yellow in color. The heads of the horses looked like lions' heads, and fire, smoke, and sulfur came out of their mouths. 1/3 of humanity was killed by these 3 plagues, that is, by the fire, the smoke, and the sulfur that came out of their mouths. For the power of the horses resides in their mouths and in their tails, because their tails are like snakes, having heads that inflict injuries. The rest of humanity, who had not been killed by these plagues, did not repent of the works of their hands, so that they did not stop worshipping demons, and idols made of gold, silver, bronze, stone, and wood, idols that cannot see, or hear, or walk about. Furthermore, they did not repent of their murders, of their magic spells, or of their sexual immorality, or of their stealing. It's interesting to me. You have this worldwide apocalypse that's going on, and yet you have in verses 20 and 21, the rest of humanity did not repent of the works of their hands. They still worshipped idols, and they didn't repent of their murders, or their magic spells, or their sexual immorality, or their stealing. It kind of reminds me of the hardness of Pharaoh's heart, and Pharaoh and his court not repenting or recognizing God when you had the plagues on Egypt. That same sort of stubbornness to continue in sin. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say when it comes to Revelation. Psalm chapter 137, verses 1 through 9. By the rivers of Babylon we sit down and weep when we remember Zion. On the poplars in her midst we hang our harps, for there our captors ask us to compose songs. Those who mock us demand that we be happy, saying, "Sing for us a song about Zion." How can we sing a song to the Lord in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, may my right hand be crippled. May my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, and do not give Jerusalem priority over whatever gives me the most joy. Remember, O Lord, what the Edomites did on that day when Jerusalem fell. They said, tear it down right to its very foundation. O daughter Babylon, soon to be devastated, how blessed will be the one who repays you for what you dished out to us. How blessed will be the one who grabs your babies and smashes them on a rock. Yeah. The context of this is that the psalmist has gone into captivity in Babylon, and they experience these very things by the Babylonians. Yeah. Yeah. Let's continue. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 10. Do not slander a servant to his master, lest he curse you, and you are found guilty. Yeah. Don't slander people in general. Okay, well, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it. Bye.